Yes, it is very cold in here. Look at the steam! I know the reason that you're all really here. You're here for the tea! Hey, what's up? I'm Ellie, and welcome back to my channel. I don't even know if I'm in focus. I don't even know if we center. Do I care? Not really. So today I am coming to you with one of my most popular videos every single year. You guys just love the tea. You love the negativity. Today I have my most disappointing and shittiest reads. I have this super sophisticated list here. Don't be butthurt. Let's not do that here. I like things, you like things, we might not like the same things, and that's just how life works. But when I talk about disappointing reads, these aren't necessarily terrible books or books that I didn't enjoy. They just disappointed me in some way. They could still be a 4-star to me, but they might have just disappointed me. So just to clarify before we get into this. Now, I am calling this a tea spill episode. And if you guys don't know, tea spill isn't... Oh, wait. I have a loose tea open in here. Woo! That could have been bad. Are inspired by my Sips by subscription, which I already ripped open and got into and all that stuff. But if you guys don't know, this is a tea subscription box that I am obsessed with. You take an online survey, you tell them what you like and what you don't like, and then they send you 4 teas every month. Also have some really cool Valentine's Day stuff coming up, like specific boxes that you can buy, and I requested one of them, so I'm very excited about that. But so this one's made for me. This is my January box. There is chocolate candy cane, which sounds so good. I really want to try it, but it's high caffeine and it's like 8 o'clock at night. Moroccan mint, which also sounds delicious. I love anything mint. Tarty to the party, which is what I am going to be testing out today because it smells delicious. And then we have Earl Grey Supreme, which I just love me a good Earl Grey. So these are some of, just to get an idea, so some of these come in just tea bag form. Some of them come kind of in like these loose leaf things. This one's also loose. And then the one that I got into is also loose. So they do come with tea bags as well, so you don't have to worry about like finding something to put your tea in, a tea diffuser. Do I have lipstick on my teeth? I sure do, don't I? Alright, let's start off with, let's just get right into it. Let's just spill the tea right off the bat. Let's start off with Kiss Quotient. So I read this at the beginning of the year for the Goodreads nominees last year, and honestly they probably all could have made this list because I didn't really like any of them. But I ended up reading the Kiss Quotient, which is a really popular romance about this girl. She's on the spectrum and she has issues being intimate, so she hires an escort in order to teach her how to be intimate. And let me tell you, I had all kinds of problems with this. First of all, she's not into getting intimate until she meets this man, and then like it's like a switch. The switch just takes off because, you know, things change when you're with the right person, which is not true at all. As someone who has difficulty being physical and just touching people, it doesn't work that way. It don't work that way. So I was very upset about that because they're literally, she is fine and he touches her and she's like, oh, you know, I'm not really feeling this. And he's like, no, just continue. And she's like, oh, wow, this is great. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. And also, he is an escort, so of course it is his job to see these women, and when they first meet, she sees something in his eyes, and then the next sentence, he sees something in her eyes, and like, do you see what's in my eyes? Because it's me calling bullshit. So I just, no. So then all of a sudden he's overprotective, he's like worried about what she's doing all the time, trying to run her life, and then on top of this, she is trying to prove the fact that if you truly love someone, you buy them underwear. What? The only person who should be buying you underwear is you and your mom. Like, ain't nobody else need to be buying you underwear. Otherwise, that means that you're probably just lazy. No. Next we have, I'm going to talk about Daisy Jones and the Six. So this one was just disappointed, mostly because of all the hype. A lot of people really loved this, and I will say the audiobook was so good, and I did cry at the end. But the overall story just wasn't there for me. It was very typical. More than one person, and it's interviews, and it's about Daisy Jones and also the band The Six. And basically it is about how Daisy Jones comes to be basically with The Six, and it's Daisy Jones and The Six. But sex, drugs, rock and roll, you know. You see everything coming from a mile away. You know everything that's going to happen. Very stereotypical. Just, it wasn't anything new or refreshing. And it read like a biography, which is cool, but it isn't really my thing. And it wasn't anything groundbreaking. And the end got me. I'm not gonna lie, it got me. But at the same time, it didn't really make sense to the storyline. It was kind of the same thing that she had used in her story, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So it wasn't anything new from her either. It was kind of like she took that formula because that book did so well and just kind of repeated it, but with new characters. So it was just really disappointing that it just didn't live up to the hype. It was still decent, but it just wasn't good enough. Then we have My Sister the Serial Killer. Now this was disappointing mostly because it is not at all what I was expecting. So you see the title and it sounds like it's going to be so interesting. And it is about this woman, her sister's boyfriends keep ending up dead, and she is realizing that, you know, her sister might be a serial killer, and she is helping her sister like hide these bodies. Well, it is following the sister that is not killing people, and she is very bland, to say the least. Like, she's like, hide this body, I'm gonna drive to work, my sister's kind of nuts, I'm gonna go to work, I have a crush on this man, but I also have no personality around him, like, so then her sister ends up kind of going after this guy that she also has a crush on, and she's like, alright, well this can't happen because I know what happens to these men. So it was just, I don't know, like I felt like things weren't handled very well and she just kind of was giving in to whatever her sister wanted and she never really confronts her sister and like it was just not very exciting. It wasn't suspenseful. Like it just, there was no thrill in a book that is about serial killers. So like, how do you do that? How do you take the thrillingness and the excitement and the danger out of serial killers? How do you do that? That is a feat in itself. This was just a dud for me. It just didn't do what I thought it was going to do, and it really, honestly wasn't that great of a story anyway. So, 2 books from a series, one of my favorite series on top of that, and basically the second half of the series is just not, it just nosedived quite quickly, and that is Escaping from Houdini as well as Capturing the Devil. These are part of the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, and they just forever to finish Escaping from Houdini. It took me months, and while the second half of it really picked up, the first half just dragged and dragged and dragged, and I was like, I just don't know if I can do this anymore. Basically, at this point, we have taken away the witty banter, we've taken away the thrill, and we have also introduced a character that is supposed to replace those things and is supposed to add those back into it, but the chemistry just isn't there. It's not the same, and also at the back of your mind, you're just like, this ain't good. Audrey Rose, this ain't good. I don't like where you was going. So, if you guys don't know what Stalking Jack the Ripper series, it is basically what it says. It is Audrey Rose, who wants to rip open dead bodies and investigate them, decides to stalk Jack the Ripper in order to find out who it is. And then each series follows a different killer. So this one is following these deaths that are happening on the ship that they are on, and basically they are trapped and these things are happening very publicly, and it's just bizarre that they don't really realize ahead of time. Also, she's like, we have to solve this case, and that does absolutely nothing to try to solve the case. She says that she's going like undercover, and like I feel like that's a really poor excuse to try to treat on her boyfriend. So, and girl, And then the last one was, there is a murder mystery, but I honestly couldn't tell you anything about it because it is mentioned at the beginning, and then we deal with this issue that is between her and Thomas, and then at the end, the issue just is kind of not an issue, and the murder is solved within like 2 pages, but there's all these details in between of like, what are we gonna do? What's happening? What's up with our lives? So you have to tell me how you really feel, and this is supposed to be a hate to love. It's about two girls, and it starts out with a miscommunication that the popular cheerleader girl asks out kind of the new edgy girl, and the edgy girl thinks that the popular girl is essentially making fun of her by asking her out. So she basically swears that this girl is her enemy from this point forward, and it's like 3 years later, and they end up getting stuck working together on a project. And if you know me, you know I loathe miscommunication plots, and this is all this is. That's the whole plot, is them just continuing to miscommunicate how they feel to each other. And it doesn't even make any sense. One, the thing that happened, and the fact that the cheerleader was never like, you know, I need to clarify here that this is not a joke. How easy would that have been? But no, 3 years later, and we are still simmering in this. Why? I don't know. And then on top of that, the romance just kind of, I feel like, pops out of nowhere, and they just keep trying to mention these facts that they learn about each other that make them, I don't know, seem more attractive to each other, but I honestly just wasn't feeling it. And then on top of that, they have like side things going on, and the cheerleader is like, oh my god, my family is so rich and they want me to go to the best school, but I don't want to do that, and just boo-hoo, they don't understand, and just her problems, can't relate. I can't relate, okay? And basically she ends up just fighting with her parents for absolutely no reason. It comes out of nowhere. Like, her mom will basically be like, hey, what do you want for dinner? And she's just like, fuck you! Fuck you! Like, out of nowhere. And I was just like, I have no clue what is getting done here. So it felt like that might have been added just to add something more to the plot, but it just, no. And I guess we'll just follow in the line of that, and we'll say Emergency Contact, which is also a like YA romance. What the heck? How does it even start? Oh, so she ends up going to like the local coffee shop, and I don't remember what happens, but I think the coffee shop boy like runs into her somewhere else, and he's having like a panic attack or something. He thinks he's having a heart attack, and she's like, put me in your phone as your emergency contact, and then they end up just texting all the time. And I really like the texting conversations. I love seeing that personality of them, but there was other things going on in their lives that didn't make no sense. They didn't add up. It didn't add to the plot. It was just weird. There was a lot of things going on that don't go anywhere. He's like pursuing some sort of, I don't even remember, film? I don't know. I don't remember the details because I didn't care, but what was weird is I was going to DNF it. And I tried to read some more, and I was going to DNF it, and I tried to read some more, and I was like, I'm done. I can't read this anymore. And then I sat down and I finished it because I just was like, actually, I mostly skimmed it, I guess. I read all the text conversations because those were good. They were good, but the overall story was just sloppy. I'm doing a lot of, I'm sorry, but the overall story was just sloppy, and it just wasn't there. And We Have Children of Blood and Bone, and this is probably one of my biggest disappointments just because so many people were hyping this up. I was very excited because it is by a black author. It is about a black character in a fantasy world, and I was just so excited. It sounded really intriguing. Basically, what happens is, like, if you're born with magic, you're born with white hair, and these people are really treated differently because people, you know, not into the magic type thing. And she finds out that, like, in order to bring magic back to, like, everyone before magic, like, dies off or something, in order to save, like, her town and things like that, she has to find these, like, ancient artifact type things in order to, like, restore it and stuff. So she goes on a quest, and she goes with some people you wouldn't really expect. One of them ends up being, like, her enemy, basically, and so, you know, there's some hate to love there, and you follow some of the other characters as well. But I just was so disappointed in this. It wasn't anything new, what isn't normally a problem, but I just felt like it was really tropey, and it fell into, I don't know, like I couldn't follow the storyline at times. I can't even remember anything about this, but I just remember really disliking it. I thought it was tropey. I didn't believe in the romance. I don't think there was any chemistry. I thought the main character was really naive and kind of stupid most of the time, and just making really dumb mistakes throughout the plot. And it didn't add up. It didn't work. I didn't care about any of the characters. I didn't care about where it was going. I didn't really understand, and I didn't care to understand. So in the end, it just ended up being a big old dud to me. So I think the next ones we get into my really shitty reads. Oh, I feel like I have to talk about at least one graphic novel in here, and that is Rat Queens Volume 6 for me. Rat Queens has been one of my favorite graphic novel series in the past, but this most recent issue just not good. So the Rat Queen series did undergo some changes. Basically, they were reworking it, rewriting it, and restarting the story. So it got to so many volumes, and then they restarted it. So I was interested in the storyline to date so far, but in the last one, it started to feel a little disconnected, and then this one was all over the place, and it just, like, it didn't really tie in. Like, they would mention some of the events from the previous one, but it didn't really tie in. It really fell flat. There was just so much info dumping, and they're dealing with this thing, and then at the end they're like, okay, well, that's dealt with, now we'll go on and do something else, and it didn't really matter, and it just wasn't good. It wasn't good. I don't know. I kind of want to continue on because I love the series so much, but I also just don't really like the direction that it's going at this point. Alright, and then for my last disappointing read, I have Misery. I just want to let you know Stephen King is on here a lot more. But we have Misery. I was really expecting to like this. I liked the movie when I watched it years ago, but I had forgotten enough of it that I felt like I could have went into this pretty unexpected. So a lot of people told me I would probably like it. It is about this woman who ends up finding that one of her favorite authors has wrecked, and she takes him in and basically keeps him prisoner because she doesn't like how the last book ended, and so she wants him to write another book for her the way that she wants it written. So she threatens him. It's pretty violent. She mutilates him in order to make him continue on. And a lot of people told me it was very disturbing, but honestly, I didn't really think it was all that gross. Like, it wasn't really that disturbing. And I'm not one for horror, but I never once felt like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Like, it wasn't very suspenseful. It was pretty drawn out. You also are seeing chapters of the book that he is writing about Misery, the character Misery, and it just was so boring. I was like, we made it halfway through the book, and I was like, is anything, like, gonna happen here? Like, what are we doing? So I don't know, it was just really bland in my opinion for being like horror, for so many people telling me that I was gonna be like shocked by the things that were happening, and I was like, does that make me some sort of weird person that's like immune to violence? I don't think so, but the things that are happening like just didn't really, it's like it would reach a certain point and then it's cut off anyway, because then he's like, oh, I blacked out. Understandably, but still, it just, I don't know, like, it ended up letting me down, and then the ending was also just, before we move on, I need a drink of my tea. Oh my god, this is so good. For the tarty to the party, this is so good. It kind of has a hint of, like, bubble gum. So good. Okay, now let's move on to my shittiest reads, my friends. The worst of the worst. These are ones that I rated really low and really hated reading, and for some reason trudged on for some reason or another. Some sort of obligation kept me with these books. So let's talk about Leah on the Offbeat, because the last two will just be the same disappointing person who is disappointing all of us currently. So Leah on the Offbeat was a shit show, to say the least. Leah, who in Simon versus, well, I saw Love Simon the movie, I didn't read the book, I'll be honest, but, so Leah is part of that universe, the Love Simon universe. This is the same girl who was pissed off at Simon because he did not come out to her, did not let her know that he was gay, and she was like, how dare you, you're an awful person, which is not the appropriate way to respond ever to someone getting up the courage to coming out. So already I was like, girl is a little self-centered, but okay, we'll continue on. So in Leah and the Offbeat, we find out that Leah is struggling with the fact that she's probably bi and has not told anyone. Do you think Simon gonna be mad? Probably not, because he's a good person. Leah goes through this and she ends up getting a crush on someone who is seemingly unobtainable, and the whole time Leah is like, I'm not like other girls, I'm different, no one likes me, I can't believe no one likes me, they don't like me because I'm fat. That is her main reason. Let me tell you the real reason no one likes Leah. It's because she's a bitch. She's a big bitch. I don't mean it like that. You know what I mean. Quite rude to everyone around her. She's so extremely self-centered. She fights with everyone because she thinks everything has to be about her, and when it's not, how dare they? And basically she ends up kind of almost forcing herself onto this girl and making a big deal about it. This girl is unsure how she feels in the end, and Leah kind of just keeps pushing at it and pushing at it in order to kind of make something happen. Not a good person, and then things end up, you know, happily ever after stuff happens. But I feel like it was also done for the convenience of the story to continue, and I don't know, it just felt very unrealistic. There was no chemistry because Leah's a bitch, and who would like someone as mean as her and self-centered as her and narcissistic as her? But so it's a little unrealistic in those terms. I thought it was very forced. There was no chemistry. It was just, none of it was organic. So this is one of my worst books. I think about how much I hate this book a good deal. Now, like, I don't understand how Love, Simon came from that. I don't know. How does that poor actress keep landing herself in roles of YA books that just disappoint people? That poor girl. We have, so the next two are by the same author. And that is good old Steve. Old Steve King. So Stephen King, I read a few things by him this year, just reading a little different things from each other. So The Outsider is not good. It could have been good. It had the potential to be so good. So the first half of this, not even the first, like the first quarter, this is so good. It is a thrilling mystery. This boy is found. He has been raped and mutilated and killed, and he has been left in the woods, and they come across his body and they find all the prints and all the DNA of his baseball coach on it. So we are in the point of view of the baseball coach, and he's like, there is absolutely no way that that's possible. I was not with that boy. I would never do that to that boy. Like, how is this possible? And they keep trying to tell him, we got concrete evidence. It was you. And he's like, it was not me. So I'm like, this is some good shit. Like, we're getting some details into, like, more things where people are like, yeah, you know, I saw that man with him. He was the last person with him. So you get some details into that. You all start finding out more about, like, this baseball coach is panicking. So you get the investigation into that, and it is good. It is so good. And then we reach a turning point. Enter the supernatural. Which, okay, sure, you could have maybe really convinced me that that was a good way to go, but no. The supernatural aspect takes up a majority of this story, and basically this man decides to go on this hunt of this supernatural thing. It's a hot damn mess after that. It is so dragged out. This was the longest book I read this year. It was over 500 pages. It is so extremely dragged out. It really focuses on, like, what this being does, where it comes from, why it's there, where they're going. It's like them hunting around for it for such a long time. And I was old by the time that I finished it, and it was bad. It was so over the top and so unbelievable, and the ending was just so what? That I was just like, you took a really good story and you just were like, I'm gonna fuck it up. I'm gonna fuck it up big time. So that's basically what happened. It was not good. I didn't even think it was written well. I've never thought any of Stephen King's books are written well. So, whoops. Which leads me to my least favorite book of the year, and by far the shittiest thing that I read this year, which is Night Shift by Stephen King. And this is a collection of short stories. Do you know how much it takes for me to hate a short story collection? Because there's going to be something in it. There's got to be some stuff in it that I like. Oh, Night Shift. Night Shift was a battle. I read this as a buddy read, so I felt I really had to finish it. It was a struggle. It was one of the hardest reading experiences of my life because of just how bad it was. It was so bad. I feel like I keep getting lipstick on my teeth. It's kind of hard to, you know, really give you a full rating of what Night Shift is about, but basically expect most of the stories to be a rewritten version of another story. So you just have kind of like 5 different stories that are written like differently, and then there's 15 other ones that are just different versions of those stories. There was only one story that I liked in this. Actually, there was probably two. Children of the Corn really creeps me out because I think that that stuff is real. Whichever the one is that Salem's Lot, it's like a short story set in the same world as Salem's Lot, and there's like vampires. I was like, this is intriguing. I could get down with this, but the story ended up not going anywhere, so I was like, okay, whatever. The rest of them were kind of very similar. Some sort of creature or person abducting someone in a coupling of some sort, and then them finding out the sinister secret behind it. That's story part number one. Number two has something to do with people normally being eaten by rats in some form. That's the second form of story. The third form of story, that might be it. And so outrageous has begun to take over the world that it's not even believable and no one really knows what's happening. So those are basically the three stories, the different types of stories that you have in this, and then they're all just rewritings of each other. And I'm so sick about reading about stupid fucking rats. What is it with the rats? I understand that Stephen King has a fear of rats, but like, there are other creatures in the world that could make these things much more intense, much more terrifying. And it's like, do you not know anything else? Like, this is all your brain can think about is, oh my god, rats are gonna eat us. That's every story. Every damn story that I've read by him, every book that I've read by him has had mention of rats. The rats don't like it. They don't like it. So, I'm losing my voice because I'm getting worked up over how terrible Night Shift was. I can't even put words into describing just... The writing was so mediocre, it was repetitive, it was just bland and generic, it was very formulaic and just not good. It was not good, my friends, so those are my most disappointing and shittiest reads of the year. Let me know your thoughts and feelings. I'm gonna leave a link to Sips By down below. I do have a coupon code, so if you guys are interested, you can check that out. I hope you guys have liked this video. Don't forget to subscribe to see future videos of me where I'll probably talk about books that I actually enjoy. Hope you guys have liked this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!